You understand what happens now.
I understand weakness. I understand pain.
I nearly stood up in the cinema and shouted at the screen.
I love the way Robert McCall turns up to work the next day after that.
9 seconds. That's what you have to decide your fate.
I am the most complete fighter in the world.
You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Stick around. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Dodge this.
Welcome to Dodge This Action Movies Unleashed. We're into season 3, as it's now called. I want to say we're balls deep into the season, but it's probably only a couple of episodes in. Spoiler alert, we may have recorded these out of order. I'd like to give you a little peek behind the wizard's curtain, and there's your first one. As you know, this season we have recruited a ragtag band of mercenaries to help me explore the international world of action movies, and we're in for an absolute treat this time. His first appearance on the podcast, and fingers crossed, his last. It's a man who you could describe as, I'm going to see what his face does reactions-wise. You could describe him as a comedian, an improviser, a writer, actor? No, we got an over an actor. His name is legally Chris Gow.
And illegally also Chris Gow.
Is it also illegally? Is it Christopher?
Yeah, illegally.
Is it Christopher Gow?
It's Christopher, and you have to put the emphasis on the T. It says Christopher.
Like Chris Christopherson.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm named after him.
Chris, hey, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is an absolute dream to talk with my pal about movies for an hour.
An extended period.
Can't wait. Literally,
great.
I'm gonna be really nerdy, so I'm just putting that up at the front.
You are in the exact right place for that sort of behavior, my friend. Listen, I haven't even mentioned what movie we're talking about yet. Let's do that. It's the Equalizer 3, starring D-Dub's Denzel Washington. It's the threequel to the Equalizer 1 and 2. I'd imagine most people would know that. It's the reteaming of director Antoine Fuqua with Denzel. I think the whole team is back. We've got a lot to get into about that. But before we do, it's probably best if we find out a little bit about Chris. Chris, I've known you for a while, but I don't think we've ever super nerded out about movies. So I'm quite excited to do that. You basically popped into my head for this podcast because, and I don't know if I only recently realized you're on it or you only recently got on it, but Letterboxd. You're on Letterboxd, and are you trying to watch a movie a day this year? At least a movie a day. Tell me what's going on.
I think I've already done that. You've
already done 365.
I think I've already done. If not close to. So basically, what happened was in lockdown.
Any story that starts in lockdown is going to be good.
Yeah, just some maniacal obsession started. But I was like, oh, I love movies. I'm a big movie nut. Love movies. Like, I've seen The Godfather. I've seen Shawshank Redemption.
The main ones.
I was like, I really know about movies. And I thought, yeah, I know about movies. And had loads of geeking out on stories. But then I looked at the Sight and Sound Top 100, which is the BFI list of 100 movies as voted for by 1,000 creatives, so directors, writers, whatever. And I looked at the top 100 and I was like, I haven't seen at least half of these, maybe a third of these I've watched. So during lockdown, I went through the 100 BFI list and it was great. I was like, oh yeah, these are really good movies.
It turns out.
But then it turns out that some people definitely know what they're talking about.
Huh.
And then I just got sucked into the rhythm of it and I just got really passionate about movies again. I'd always been passionate about movies, but I'm now just deep. Now that I'm in it, I'm in it. And I watched 100 best movies, and now the year later I was like, oh, what about all those trash movies that I absolutely love, all the B movies? I'm going to watch all the ones I've never watched of those. And now it's just like, it's such a habit now. It's quite easy to watch a movie a day if you're commuting. I'm in London.
If you're commuting,
45 minutes there. Yeah.
Where are you watching? Are you watching them on your phone? Is that how you're enjoying The Godfather on Nokia 3210?
How it's meant to be seen, Simon.
We all know Scorsese loves people watching his movies on phones.
But I also, much to my wife's absolute horror, have bought a Blu-ray player and now have started buying. I'm middle-aged.
Are you a collector now?
What I am, I don't feel like I'm a collector. My wife might disagree, but I'm trying to buy movies that you can't find anywhere else.
That's smart. And I kind of get that.
Yeah. And the deeper you get into it, like the harder the drug has to be. So the more obscure things you're looking for. And then some of those are just available on Blu-ray. So I'm also watching it on my big TV at home.
Nice. I do feel like that feels like the gateway drug to obsessively collecting physical media, right? Like, I'm just buying the ones you can't get on Netflix or they're not on streaming. And then like, that sort of happened with DVD, didn't it? And then Blu-ray came out and you're like, no, I'm just rebuying like the best ones, and then you see those pictures of those people whose like entire walls are just physical media. And I'm like, God damn.
You saying that, my wife Jay, somewhere in London now, is just a shiver has just gone down her back.
Screaming.
We've just moved into a new place and I've already earmarked a whole wall
so
for
much shelf space.
Yeah, as I call it, my library.
Oh, God. What I did find very interesting about your Letterboxd, and you have sort of half answered this, but maybe that was the during COVID period. So the post-COVID top 100, like things caught my little nerdy movie eye because as you may or may not know now, since I've commented on your Letterboxd, I'm a huge fan of like Asian action cinema. Grew up watching loads of Hong Kong action movies, and I noticed things like Johnny To movies popping up, and I was like, what list are you working your way through? Like Mubi? How are you picking out these movies to watch? How have you suddenly watched 3 Johnny To movies in a week?
Yeah. Basically, I realized like when I was younger, I was obsessed with like martial art movies and like action Hong Kong. Now I know are Hong Kong action movies, but when I was a kid, I was just like yum yum yum, give it, and I sort of just forgot about them. Like I forgot how much I loved them, and then by chance I watched. I can't remember, something set me off down this wormhole. Like
now you own 30 Blu-rays.
Yeah, literally. And then I just got into this spiral of just like catching up on all of the last 20 years worth. And yeah, I just watched one and they're like perfect movies for me. Like as much as I like 8.5 by Fellini. Like really what I want is 90-minute movie of someone just pummeling the shit out of someone. And
you have come to the right place, my friend.
Yeah. But what I love about all those like Johnny To movies, is that how you say his name? I don't even know. God, terrible.
I believe so.
But, they're just so like lean. Yeah. It's not that they're like vacuous or empty. They're just lean. He knows exactly. It's just like one clear story, very simple story, and it's just exciting. And they're all 90 minutes, and there's no fat on them, and that is like a perfect movie. Like all the best movies are around generally 90 to 100 minutes, aren't they?
It's true. Really? We've talked about this in the past a lot. How like movie length creep. How I suppose. Well, I don't know if it is the advent of streaming and the fact that you can just sort of pick it up halfway through. Maybe it is. I mean, that said, Oppenheimer's made a lot of money, and we all managed to sit through that. Well, I didn't go for a wee, and I'm notorious for loving a wee. But
that's how we met, isn't it?
The urinals.
I
nearly said urinals because I've spent so much of the last few years talking to Americans. I've had to translate words like urinal.
The pisser.
After a while, you just can't be like, yes, we say urinal. I know it's mad to you that you've never heard that.
Yeah, like even saying the word water sometimes confuses Americans because like water. I totally like this. I think we're going to talk about the Equalizer later, but like the Equalizer trilogy is a symptom of like these could all be 90-minute movies, great, like fantastic 90, but for some reason they're like 2 hours. The first one is 2 hours 20 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
once
insane.
you get over 2 hours, I think you've got to have a pretty good reason at this point, right? And the one thing I think that is missing on Netflix is a order movies by length, you know, or maybe I mean, everyone's Netflix looks different. Maybe there is a movies under 90 minutes. I would take movies under 100 minutes.
Yeah.
Or it
100%.
knows what the time is because of the device you're watching it on. And it's like, well, this will happen in the future, I'm sure. You usually go to bed between 11 and 12. It's 10 p.m. Here's some movies that you can slot right in that 90-minute mark.
That would be perfect. Think about like Oppenheimer. I haven't seen it, but like you trust that Christopher Nolan knows what he's doing, and there's a reason why it's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But like
because it's basically like 3 different movies in one. I
right.
would say.
Yeah. But like most people aren't like, I do think there is, as a writer of TV and films, like I do think there is like people care less about it. And so they're just often like flabby. They're just a bit flabby, some things. And like they could all be edited like beautifully. Like you don't need like I'm sure we're going to talk about this later, but there's like loads of sequences in these 3 movies where you're like, I like them, but you don't need them.
Did we need it? Did we need it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did we need the Holocaust side quest? Some people argue no.
Yeah.
Some people would argue no.
Categorically no.
I think we can agree that's a no. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Chris, all right, we touched on it a little bit. Let's just bring it into present day, since we do try to sort of keep this podcast vaguely current.
Let's keep it 90 minutes. Let's keep it 90 minutes.
Yeah. Another chat that Matthew and I have had a lot is when we started this, let's keep it no 45 to 60 minutes, you know, and then every single episode just creeping and creeping because we had too many side quests.
Yeah.
Outside of watching all of the Equalizer movies, what else has popped up on your media radar of late that might be worth a look?
Are we talking action movies here?
No, this can be anything. You got carte blanche right now. This is your 8.5 Fellini section.
Yeah, I am way behind the times, guys, and I have just watched The Bear. Have you seen The Bear?
I've seen season 1 and I'm currently watching season 2.
That is great.
That's a great bit of telly, isn't it?
It's really good. Everyone is lovely acting at a storm. It's really funny. It's quick. I love it.
They're just doing so much acting in that.
Yeah, love it. Good old actors being actors.
I will say this, you can't watch it if you're a little bit stressed out or have a headache, I would say, because it's quite a lot of shouting for 25 minutes.
It's a bit like drinking 5 coffees and doing a line of Coke, I would say, like watching that for sure.
How far along are you?
Just finished season 1.
Okay, so you've seen the one take episode.
Oh,
that
beautiful.
Was
absolute
pun intended.
Beautiful.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, and I'm not obsessive about like the technical. Like I like things to, if you're directing something, people disappear. Like I don't want to know that the director's being all flashy. But that was a perfect example of a really good one where you're totally involved. I only noticed it was a one like halfway through, which is like amazing. Like,
that is a real like actors acting exercise, isn't it? That is a real like
great.
I've come from the theatre. I think I can manage 25 minutes in a row without making any mistakes. Thank you.
Yeah. Take 406, please.
Can we
your
just
marks,
go home?
Derek? Yeah. But I don't actually watch a lot of TV, and I worked out why. Like I was watching loads of TV in the old days, but since the pandemic,
every story starts with.
I know.
Since
I'm
the
sorry,
pandemic. But we all it changed us all in different ways.
Yeah, me in a really nerdy way. But I think I just like a story to be wrapped up. I just realized what it is. Like you could sit down and consume a story with a movie, and then you're done. It's not like some 7 seasons of this that I've got to trawl through.
It's intimidating sometimes, isn't it? Yeah. When people are like, "Have you watched Breaking Bad? Yeah. Have you watched Better Call Saul? I haven't really dipped into. You've got to watch it, mate. It's like 50 hours.
It's like homework at some points.
Yeah. There's a part of me that is delighted to some degree when a show is only a season or 2. And also I think like the way often that we talk about these shows is, oh, it's been cancelled. It's been cancelled. They never say it wasn't renewed.
Yeah.
And I find that does irk me slightly because it's sort of, it's almost like a pejorative way of like, so it's a piece of shit, so they cancelled it. I'm like, there's actually loads of things that just ended, and it was probably all right. Would I have liked another series? Maybe. But as long as it's not, Lost or one of those, I'm trying to think of a really obscure Flash Forward, a show that just like fully doesn't tie up and doesn't get renewed, and then you're like, well, you have wasted my time. You have wasted my time.
Yeah, 100%. And you
I
just
enjoyed the journey, but I wanted closure.
Yeah, and Lost was really bad at that, wasn't it? Like
where they just go on. I mean, Jabrams has talked about it, I think, and the other writers have just.
It's pronounced J.J. Abrams.
Oh, sorry,
Abrams. Yeah.
About how they were just like, we didn't really know what we were doing. We just kept going, which is sad and real. I've just remembered actually one good TV show that I have watched, and maybe this has crossed your path because it's a couple of years old, and I finally got on it on Netflix. GIRI HAJI.
What?
No, nothing at all. Oh, this is great. Well, pop it on your list. It's like
I'm putting it down.
It's I think it was a BBC co-production with Japan about a show about a Japanese detective from Tokyo who comes to London, and then there's Kelly MacDonald from Trainspotting.
Literally one of my favorites. Love Kelly MacDonald.
I'm pretty sure she's done stuff in between, but obviously, if you're of a certain age, she's probably cemented from Trainspotting. Really, a very interesting piece of drama that does. Some would argue probably too much. It tries to be so many things, and it had one of the, I don't want to spoil it, but in the most extraordinary final episodes of TV that I've seen in a long while. But I highly recommend that. Check that out. Netflix.
That feels very much in my wheelhouse. That 100%.
That is my gift to you for this episode.
No Country for Old Men is also a Kelly MacDonald, which is my favorite.
Well, I have seen that, and I didn't know she was in that. And that is almost certainly in the list of 100 top movies that you got through in COVID. Is it not?
No.
That feels like the sort of one of those like gateway movies where people go like, do you don't know if you've heard of this movie called No Country for Old Men? I would say like I'm not a huge Coen Brothers fan, but that is one of their more accessibles.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
And the problem, I should probably preface that all my opinions for the next hour, I've watched so many films now. I pretty much like most films now. It's mad because I'll watch it and I'll be like, I'll watch it on its own terms, which I didn't used to do. I'd like compare like Broken Arrow with John Travolta to, what, I don't know, No Country for Old Men. But you can't. You just have to watch it for what it is. And like, I'm a lot better at that. I mean, I still have an opinion.
That is sage wisdom, actually, because I, in spite of the fact that I have a podcast about very often niche movies, DTV movies, niche foreign stuff that most people won't, I will still be annoyed about things where I'm sort of not approaching it on its own terms, and I want to get better at that. So thank you for that handy reminder.
You can approach it on its own terms and still have an opinion, though. Like is an action movie doing its actiony thing? Like,
well,
you can still be like, no,
perfect.
It's not. Or
yes,
or like this movie we're going to chat about eventually. Just like sometimes you're just like, what the fuck is this doing in here? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
if we have any chance of keeping this podcast under an hour, which I'm
Yes.
putting my money down, we're not. Let's head into what some people refer to as the trailer park.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Just to clarify, you call this part the trailer park?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. You got any thoughts on that?
Well,
it doesn't feel like it's the most original. I don't think I'm the first person who's said that.
Yeah, just not just the trailers. You haven't thought about the trailers to the feature presentation. or whatever like that. Feels like it's off game, if anything, calling it trailer park.
We've got to pad the podcast out with more words possible to get it to the 2-hour mark for those streaming numbers. All right, we got 3 trailers to get to. Let's smash through these. This one, the first one on the list, it popped up a while back in our little inter-season break. It's Boy Kills World. And I think I've sort of put it in because I think it premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in this week as we are recording. So it felt like vaguely relevant to sneak it in. I suspect it hasn't got a real trailer because it hasn't got a distributor, hence it was being shown. I doubtless has been picked up and will almost certainly be on everyone's radar soon. Intrigued as to how the trailer leaked, probably doesn't matter. Any initial thoughts on this, Chris? It's a Skarsgård, and he is really, really duffing up a lot of people.
Yeah. This is probably my favourite trailer of the 3. This is the one that intrigued me the most because it had Sam Raimi attached to it. And I was like, he knows how to have a good time. Like, it was,
he does.
It might not be like particularly like genre bending or anything, but he knows how to have a good time. And you have a good time in that movie. And like all the action sequence in it at least looked like different and fun and absurd. You know what you want? Loads of blood.
It's got that sort of, I don't know how I would sort of describe it as a post Kick-Ass vibe. The Kingsman, like a sort of slightly arch tone, slightly hyper violent approach to the action.
And I would say I'm kind of bored of those movies in general. I don't like meta stuff that much anymore. But I thought of the lot, at least that it just looked, there was like some interesting action sequences and like, it just looked fun. It did look fun.
I think it's definitely going to be worth a look. And again, I think your point about coming to it on its own terms is going to be high up in my mind on this one.
Yeah. Am I going to give it 3 stars? Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I know I'm going to give that movie 3 stars.
But sometimes 3 stars is all right? Sometimes that's exactly what you want. And I think this point is probably going to come up several more times.
100 million. Yeah, this is what I want to talk about with the Equalizer. But yeah.
All right, let's move on. The second trailer, I put this in because I do like to shine a light on movies that probably won't arrive on most people's TV screens or as your telephone screen on your commute. Some like classic DTV stuff.
I watch them on my Tamagotchi generally, just for that immersive experience. Yeah, I'm so intrigued.
Calculator.
I really want you to guide me through the world of, was it DTV movies? Like this looked like, I was like,
well, it used to be direct to video, but it's direct to streaming now, right? Direct to digital.
Yeah, like how do they just bring them under budget and just sell them, and people who are like learning how to direct jump in on them and they're produced by someone?
So many of those questions. Yeah, me and Matt have talked about this ad infinitum, where like you do sometimes hear interviews with stars and directors of these movies, but it's very rare that they are fully open and upfront about stuff for like obvious reasons. Everyone wants to like keep working, and there's investors, and you can't be like, well, this guy fucked us over, so we had to do it for a lot less money. But Scott Adkins, I don't know if you're aware of Scott Adkins. I think you are, right? The Brit kicker and DTV legend, Scott Adkins. Mm-hmm. He's produced a couple of low budget movies in the last few years, and he's sort of spoken quite openly about just the difficulty of raising under 2 million to make a movie and that sort of thing. And I think it is that it's international sales, it's like pre-sales, it's all, but the whole world of producing DTV movies seems like it is a real graft.
Yeah, 100%. Like I watched something, this is ages ago. It was like a Keanu Reeves, must have been a DTV, and it was called something like Siberia or something. And me and my mate Sunil were watching it, and I fuck you not. It had 16 production companies attached to it. When the names come up,
Yeah.
We started carrying them after
Like
3. We were like in hysterics.
China.
Yeah. And they were like Globus International, West End Introductions, Milky Way Entertainment. And they just kept, it was like a sketch. Just like, there was so many. And you're like,
please, if you give us over 10 grand, you will
Yeah.
get your production company up
Yeah.
top.
100%. And there's just money laundering, presumably, a lot of it. It's
It
got
has
to be,
to
right?
to some degree.
Tax breaks and
Yeah, fully. And that's what's intriguing about these. And also, and this one I put in because I think it looks all right. I think it's actually has come out in the last week as we're recording. So I will watch it. But the thing that comes up a lot, and I feel like I hate to keep repeating myself on this podcast, but the trajectory of Frank Grillo, the actor, over the last 5 years, I would say, is intriguing to me because he has been in some big A-list movies, but at the moment he seems to be carving out this little niche as the best thing in every DTV movie that he's in. And this one seems like no different. I love to watch him. I think he's great.
So I don't know if you've seen this, but have you seen The Grey?
The Liam Neeson movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched that the other day and I
Okay.
was like, he's in that, Frank
Is he?
Grillo. And yeah. And I was like, I was watching The Grey. I was like, this should be terrible. But it was like so well done.
It's
I was
all
like,
right,
this
isn't
is-
it? Yeah.
It's a good fucking movie. I don't
Yeah.
know why more people aren't talking about it. Because it's about a wolf. So everyone's like, nah, fuck it. It's like really well directed. Frank Grillo is great.
I've not heard quite so much hate on the Grey. I think that's one of like Neeson's better latter day movies.
You haven't been on like the farmers forums where they're
the
like
Discords.
anything with a wolf.
Oh, they're
not
living
interested. Yeah.
Keep
like
shit
old
talking
sex-
the wolves. We're out here
Yeah.
trying to promote
Or like-
wolves.
Yeah. Or like some like 1920s cartoon babe like is like really against
Hates
but
wolves.
yeah, Frank-
Anyway, King of Killers. It's got Frank Grillo being Frank Grillo. It's got Alan Moosey, who is a kickboxer who's been in a
Right.
couple of the more recent kickboxer franchise movies, which I have not seen, but I've heard are quite bad.
I saw that man and I didn't know who he was. And I was like, that guy has to be some martial artist and his face is very strange and his acting is terrible.
He has
So
got an odd face, yeah, but he does got a big old leg on him.
Yeah. And I was
So-
like, that makes sense.
This one, mate, I watch a lot of trailers and this was an all right trailer and it puts it into the I will watch it category. Okay, quickly one more. I've saved the arguably biggest in terms of budget and marketing spend till last. It's Rebel Moon. I'm not sure this is technically a straight up action, but it's Zack Snyder doing his Star Wars. Do you think that's fair to say?
I will not watch this movie.
No, it's actually two
No.
movies as well, isn't it? And I bet
Yeah,
they're both
I-
2.5 hours long.
I'm going to only watch the second half. I can't get on board with these movies. I'm not a big Zack Snyder fan anyway. I mean, I'll probably watch it. I'm lying to myself, but like,
To be fair, I've seen your letterbox, mate. The quality control is not that stringent.
yeah, it's not great. I watched Ninja Terminator 2 days ago, which is fucking amazing.
Oh, classic.
But like those bloated sci-fi operas, like for me personally, are not what I'm not that into them because they're always like ideas led and not like character led. So I find them a bit boring sometimes. And then they're trying to make you care about someone called like a Blautan or something, and the Blautan's got like a big seagull head or something, and
Hey,
you're like,
a
oh, who gives a
Blautan
shit?
had quite a tough upbringing on the planet Plen.
That would be good, but they never talk about their upbringing,
No.
so you don't give a shit about them. And then it's always like a resistance against some, and you're just like, Star Wars did this. Star Wars did this.
In this trailer, there's people
Yeah.
dressed as Nazis, effectively.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, Star Wars did this, and they did it really well. Why are you, like, fucking 40 years ago?
Everyone who grew
Like-
up watching Star Wars wants to make their own
Yeah.
Star Wars, right?
But Zack Snyder also, like, he needs to learn the 90-minute rule. We should send
good
him a
luck.
letter. Should we send him a letter?
Could we? Is there a
From
fax
Dodge
your
This.
director?
Yeah.
.co.uk.
Yeah. Fax is such a good way of getting hold of him as well.
Yeah. Apparently, he only replies to faxes. He's like Bill Murray.
Yeah.
You have to call him on a landline and leave a message.
Yeah.
I am not. I would say I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder, but I'm not a not fan of Zack Snyder. I think latter day Snyder, I haven't like Justice League and the Batman one. That said, I do like the look of this trailer. It's Snyder being, Snyder to the Snyder degree. It's got everything you expect from him, and it's got all the sort of, I hate to say Star Warsy stuff, but it is that like space opera vibes, which I think like the good ones I do like. I really liked Dune.
What's like? Yeah. So did you like Dune?
I like the new Dune. Yeah, Noon.
Yeah. Noon.
I haven't seen the David Lynch Dune. Actually, I've only seen the Denis Villeneuve one. Well, I liked it a lot.
I just really, what I'm bored of, I guess, is like there's like a space battle in Dune where the guys come down and like attack this whatever. I don't know. Please fill in the gaps.
Sound area.
But it's just all in slow-mo with like this really ponderous music. Like it's meant to be like awe-inspiring, right? So it's like, oh, wow. But it's like, it's not, because we've seen it all 100 million times. And like for the people in the movie, it's not awe-inspiring because they've seen a spaceship before. So it's like, it's not exciting. It should be exciting. Like, wow, it should be action-packed. Like if a spaceship comes down with an army and you fight off the army, that should be exciting. Instead, it's like this like, Inception, like really like dull, ponderous. I'm like, come on.
I don't think that's what you're going to get from Rebel Moon, in fairness. If you want, I mean, there probably will be quite a lot of speed ramping and slow-mo, is Zack Snyder, but it's going to be grandiose, isn't it? I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I'll watch the first one, unless it comes in over 3 hours, Zach. We've got to draw the line somewhere.
It's 90 minutes. That's where we draw the line.
That's just very aggressive. Mate, you should watch more DTV. Some of them come in at, oh my God. I keep threatening to do a whole episode on Chinese streaming movies that are made specifically for like watching on your phone on your commute. Some of these things come in at like 79, 80 minutes. Whew.
Dream. Absolute
dream. They just get in, they get it done, and you get out before you're even at your stop. Incredible scenes.
Yeah. I love like old film noirs, and like they must have been churning out film noirs in the 40s and 50s because yes, a lot of them run at like 69 minutes, and you're like,
it's not even a feature
great.
These days, is it? That's a short.
It's great though. It's great.
All right, I think it's time. That is a lot of preamble, but I've loved every second of it. Let's head through to the feature presentation,
or as I like to call it, the feature park.
And now, our feature presentation.
Dodge this.
All right, we're in the multiplex. I don't know where you watched this. I watched this in a... Actually, I watched this. I haven't mentioned it so far on the podcast. I'm in Mumbai, in case people didn't know. Chris is in London. I watched it in quote-unquote IMAX. It said it was IMAX, but I think it might have just been a really big screen because IMAX is like a slightly different aspect ratio, isn't it? And it wasn't. It was regular. Anyway, I took a punt. I sat in the backest of the back rows, and it was just a very big screen. That was that. I feel like that story could have had a better ending.
I watched it in Stratford Picture House, which is like a boutique cinema in London, but it has seen better days. Once a boutique. Yeah, and I saw it in the afternoon, exactly how you should see the Equalizer 3, which was in a basically empty cinema with 3 middle-aged men, me included, in that 3. And that is what this movie is. This is a dad movie.
It is. And that exact setting was almost the exact same way I saw the movie, like in the daytime, in a cinema that could hold 200 people with a handful of them in there, just having a bloody great time. We forgot to mention in the other things we've seen outright, but I watched this movie in the cinema, and then there was maybe, there's been a week since I've seen it. You saw it yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And in that week, you said, "Oh, I'm going to watch the first one again." And then I noticed, the first one's on Netflix. Maybe I'll give it a look as well. And then Netflix going to Netflix. They know 3's coming out. They've put 1 and 2 on there, haven't they? And then I've taken your lead, and I've watched 1 and 2 this week.
Yeah,
after having watched 3, so we are so chock full. We are fully equalized at this point.
Yeah, we've definitely equalized. And I will say this: I watched the Equalizer twice before, and this third time, again, it was like watching it anew because I couldn't remember a single thing about it. And number 2, even more so, all I could remember was the end vaguely. There was in a hurricane, and that was it. So it was like watching it anew.
Same.
And that, yeah.
I think that's quite an interesting point, which maybe we'll circle around to, is that from the first 2, the only thing I remembered was the finales.
Mm.
And from this one, did not remember it. Did not remember the finale.
I think this sums up what is like really fun about all 3 movies, but also equally shit about all 3 movies, which is, they're all 3-star classics in that they are so watchable. You sit down, you watch them because they like do what they say on the tin. Like Denzel is incredible. Like it's slickly directed and they just rattle along, but they are completely like forgettable, really. Is that fair to say?
Well, my gut reaction is no, it's not fair to say, and I want to sort of defend them. But I feel like
Please.
2 sentences ago, I literally said I couldn't remember anything about the first 2. So I think like you are correct. And before we get into 3, I will say like I really like all of these movies. In fact, I'm glad I revisited the first 2 because I think the first one I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd, and I gave number 2 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, and you know, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, I gave number 3 3.5, I think, but probably for sort of different reasons.
I want to defend a 3-star classic as well. Like 3 stars sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like, oh, well, that's mid-range. But like a 3-star movie, I mean, these are 3-star classics. They're really well made.
It's above average.
They're fun to watch, and like, but they're just, I do think like a really great piece of art stays with you. And the fact that you know, even 5 years later, there's something, fair. And I'm not knocking it. It's like a delicious, it's like a delicious hamburger. They're delicious.
You have to approach it on its own terms.
Yes. But these are 3-star classics.
Every year that it's on Channel 5 in the next 10 years, you'll flick over and you go, I'll just watch 10 minutes of this. And then you will watch the entire 2-hour, 20-minute movie.
And that is a testament to how well made these movies are. So your 4-star, I see and I hear it.
I think the first one is the best one. But let's get into 3 first, and then we can sort of pick each of them apart and talk about the various facets of them. Usually, Chris, I like to foist the plot sum up onto our unsuspecting guest because I'm not very good at it. And
I can do it.
Mainly, other people are better at summing these movies up than me. So can you give the sight and sound, not the full spoilery version, but the breakdown of the plot of Equalizer 3?
So I think he's called Robert McCall.
Correct.
Is the Equalizer, played by Denzel Washington. And he is some sort of CIA operative who's retired, presumed dead. He's faked his own death back in 1 and 2. And what he does day to day, much like the old TV show, is he rights wrongs, a bit like a one-man A-team, and absolutely murders people in very disturbing slasher movie ways, but for good people who have been wronged in some way. So they could be from old concentration camp victims looking for their old art.
He started with the best bit.
Yeah, or like rescuing child prostitutes from a world of absolute pain, and he does that, and he
Russian
murders
mafia,
people. Russian mafia. In this edition 3,
you nearly said episode.
Yeah, because it feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So this one, it starts in Italy as he's on a mission to right a wrong that we don't know about, and in the process, he gets badly injured and has to recuperate when an Italian cop and an Italian doctor help him out, and he recuperates in a small town in the middle of the Amalfi. Is it Sicily or the Amalfi Coast? I'm not quite sure.
Sicily, I think.
Sicily. And as he recuperates, he learns what life's all about again, and he finds a path to redemption. But then, classic, these simple folk in an Italian village are terrorized by an Italian mafia gang, and he has to come out of retirement one last time to absolutely fuck the shit up.
He equalizes the shit out of these guys. Yeah.
Is that a fair summation?
Yeah, that is a fair summation. And I think what stands out from that summation is that this is probably the most linear sort of A to B simple plot. There is a sort of B plot line involving Dakota Fanning as an FBI agent that I mean, it's fine, isn't it? It's fine, but I don't know if it adds a lot to the sort of equalizing.
That was my main problem with the movie, in that anytime we got away from this lovely self-contained Western, basically, where Denzel Washington is getting rid of the bad guys who've come into town, it was kind of like, it wasn't boring, but it was like completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because the thing you like about these movies is Denzel Washington is so watchable and charismatic, such a good actor.
Yes.
You just want to see him avenge and equalize. And like any time it departed from that, it was kind of boring, to be honest. If really, like, you don't need any of that Dakota Fanning stuff, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what is interesting about this one is that I feel like while it is an Equalizer movie, no questions asked. There's equalizing, there's Denzel, it's directed by Antoine Fuqua. It checks all the boxes for equalization. It sort of comes at it from it's got a different vibe.
Yeah.
It has a sort of, I'm getting too old for this shit sort of retirement vibe. And I hope this is the case, but it feels like the end of this run of Equalizer movies. It's like the double-edged sword of, well, I enjoyed it, so I imagine a lot of other people did, so if it makes enough money, you know, Denzel's made 3 of them. Who knows what's fueling his desire to make sequels when he never usually does. But like as a sort of as a bookend to the trilogy, it feels quite nice. Like he feels older. He's a bit slower. He doesn't really want to be equalizing. He just wants to enjoy his cup of tea and some pizza and pasta and the beautiful views. And I think that, I mean, it's geographically, you know, different, it's visually different. The others were set in Boston. This one is, you know, seemingly filmed on location in Sicily. So, like, I think from the off, the whole thing has a slightly different vibe. It's a little bit slower. Like you say, it does feel like a Western in a way. This sort of, you know, drifter rolls into town and tries to save the beleaguered locals from the ne'er-do-wells.
And I thought the first half of this movie was the best of all 3, actually. Like
just like Denzel's Italian Holiday.
Yeah, but what I liked about it is the one flaw, well, there's a few flaws, but like one of the flaws of the 2 first movies is you never feel like Denzel is in any danger, really. He's so invincible. There's no like, is the hero in trouble? Like the only part of in like 1, like the Dark Knight of the Soul is, I mean, there aren't any really. There's never any danger. And at least this one, he started hobbled.
That's true.
You know, like at least you were like, oh, can he do it? He's old. He looks old. He's playing it older.
Yeah,
and
he does actually. He's got the sort of salt and pepper, like grey hair in there.
But that made it at least like vaguely interesting. I mean, then they just abandoned him in the second half anyway, and he's invincible. But there was the promise of that, I thought, which was good.
It's true, isn't it? Because I think like as you say, in the first 2, he is sort of untouchable for the most part. Like there's quite a good scrap in the Home Depot spin-off store at the end of the first one. Where you're like, oh, you know, and he is noticeably younger, and I mean, I'm sure he's doubled a lot, and perhaps we'll get into this in a bit, but there's a bit where you're like, oh, he's actually up against it here, against like a hard bloke, whereas I don't remember anyone really laying a hand on him too much in the second one, and then
they don't,
and then in this one, he doesn't really get touched.
But can we just touch on the fact that like he equalizes a lot of people in these 3 movies?
They do a lot.
But like how they set his character up, especially the first 2, is that this sort of avuncular nice old guy who's like looking out for people. And it's very like, oh, I'd like him as my uncle. He's very nice, like, great. But then in the second half of all of these movies, he's basically Michael Myers out of Halloween.
Yes.
In one part of one, he hangs a man using barbed wire and then watches him die. They're positing like some moral code in these movies. But like, what is the moral? What are they? They're making a comment about violence, sort of, but they're saying, what are they saying about it? It's so weird. Like, he's like helping people like the A-Team or like some old TV show, but then he is absolutely a psychopath.
Like if the A-Team were allowed to actually hurt or shoot anyone. It's like the opposite of the A-Team. They were like, right, for this reboot of the A-Team, instead of all the bullets sort of going nearby, they're all going to go through people's eye sockets.
Yeah, but it's not even like shooting someone. It's like watching them die, like with his cold shark eyes.
That is it. He does do that, doesn't he? That's sort of his thing. Is like the main guy. He has to like watch the sort of like the life disappear from their eyes at the end.
Like if he was your uncle, what's he going to be like round like Christmas? Invite him round, cut the turkey, do a few games, and then what? He's going to like pop out, murder your neighbours.
Well, I will say this in defence of Robert McCall: he does give everyone a chance.
Chance, that is true.
He does give them all the opportunity to pack in their mafia or date rape or kidnapping ways, and to a man, they refuse.
Unless you're a henchman, then he doesn't. If you're a henchman, you just get absolutely fucked up. Like you have things pushed through your eye.
There's no union for henchmen. There's the problem, isn't it?
It's a sad thing.
Yeah.
Like, I bet all those henchmen, can I get the choices? I'd like to walk out of there. Nope, I'm putting a bottle through your neck.
Sorry, who is it? Robert McCall? No. Did you hear about what he did at B&Q? He used like a fishing pole. He like went through a guy's neck. Not interested, mate. Sorry, there's no money in the world.
I love the way Robert McCall turns up to work the next day after that. Like he's still living in Boston, and his like after murdering all those people at his work, he's still just living in Boston.
I'm glad he had a different apartment in the second one, because at the end of the first one, he just goes back to the same apartment, and like Chloe Grace Moretz just goes, "Oh, like I've been popping around the neighborhood for the last week trying to find you," and I'm like, "Didn't anyone else have any questions?"
Yeah, he's trundling around with his 2 shopping bags, like his 2 Tesco bags.
Isn't he meant to like disappear like in a sort of ninja smoke at the end and then pop up in a different city like Jason Bourne?
Apparently not. He's just getting on with his life.
It's an incredible scene, isn't it? Yeah, for this one, I think the sort of him aging thing was quite. Well, like the more I think about the beginning, this isn't a major spoiler, but like he gets injured at the beginning. But the way that he gets injured, it's like his whole thing is almost OCD level precision, right? I forgot in the first one, there's actually a bit where he switches a light switch on and off a bunch of times. I think it's sort of implied.
Yeah, and he closes
the door closes.
Yeah, and you're like, I then read into it, and he's meant to have OCD, but at no point do you get that across. He just looks like
he's very exacting in everything.
Exactly.
So the fact that after sort of mowing down like this entire villa's worth of people, that on the way out he just allows himself to sort of be casually injured in a way where you're like, yeah, but at the same time, the second he goes, you know, oh, you be careful, all right, I'm not going to murder you. You're like, well, I mean, now we know what. Come on, mate. Yeah. You've done enough equalizing to know that you can't trust anyone.
Yeah, surely. Unless that's a comment on him being a bit older and not with it.
Yeah, that's sort of what took me to that point. Yeah, in that he's...
Because he also, when he does get shot, he then just like flails around and shoots everywhere, which I thought was quite fun.
I thought I'd love to know whose idea that was, that he sort of gets shot in the back and then just shoots his gun in the air like a mad person.
Like what an actual 65-year-old man would do. How old is
that is how you would be surprised, right? You'd be like, oh my God, who's done that now? Unbelievable. Yeah, it's extraordinary. So yeah, I really enjoyed and I think this also speaks to why this series is very good, is that Denzel is such a good actor that there is effectively about an hour, maybe more of this movie where he does a zero equalization, right? Mm-hmm. There's the beginning, which has the sort of the series MO bit, you know, where it's like he says a thing and then it goes in his eye and he clocks all the things in the room and then we see him equalize everyone to pieces. But then he's just having a lovely time, you know, getting to know the villagers in this delightful seaside town, and it is delightful to watch. The scenery is beautiful. Denzel's a great actor. Everyone around him's like doing great. It's just sort of like, oh, this is nice, isn't it? I could sort of watch this every few years. He goes to a different place. He just hangs out.
Yeah, I really like the first half because like what they're good at. They do this in the first one. There's like at least half an hour before you equalize anyone. It's like it's especially effective this far into the franchise because you know he's going to equalize the shit out of someone, and then building that tension, will he, won't he, when's he going to do it, was great. And then when it does happen, there's probably, I'm jumping ahead, but that sequence where he really fucks up those guys who were in the restaurant. Yeah, that's such a great sequence. It comes out of nowhere. It's really vicious and it's cathartic. You've been waiting for this to bubble over for ages.
Oh my God, there's so much build up. Yes, it is like such a sort of steam release valve where he does that, sort of twists this guy's hand in a restaurant in that way, and like just tells him like, I'm pressing this nerve and it's a 2 out of 10 pain scale, and you're like, this is what we want. It's like, yes, it's like those sort of Taken speech levels. Yeah, each of these movies has a really good bit where he just like says something and just acts it really well.
Yeah, and it is the same metric. I don't know if you ever watch slasher movies, but it is sort of working on that same. It's like Friday the 13th or something. You know that Jason Voorhees is going to just murder a whole load of teenagers in exotic ways, and it's just like, if you don't give me that, then we all know that it's happening. So just do it and do it really well. Yeah. And anytime they don't do that, it's a bit boring, this movie. Like, we just want more of the same. Denzel doing exactly what, with a little bit of a twist. This time he's old.
This time he's old and he's on holiday.
Yeah. And he's like got that beautiful woman like somehow interested in him. Sure. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't sure if they were sort of hinting at romance in that, or I was like, are you going to, come on, he is a bit old. And, she kind of ribs him about his tea. Teas for old women and Englishmen.
Yeah.
I nearly stood up in the cinema and shouted at the screen. You are right in a way, though.
Yeah. What I love, one of my favorite moments in this whole movie is we've spent 45 minutes with him in this beautiful Italian town. He's got to know these Italian people and their culture. She takes him out for a meal, and the first thing they get is a kebab. They go to a port and she gets him a kebab, like straight off the elephant leg. And he's like, what's this? And she's like, it's a kebab. And you're like,
the classic Italian dish.
The Italian dish of a kebab. And like, what, he's never had a kebab? And he's wandering around this beautiful port, stuffing his face with elephant leg doner. Amazing.
That was a very, very interesting turn. I didn't see that coming. I have to say, when they rolled up with all the fresh seafood that had just come in from the bay, and the guy just had his electric knife and his tray, like,
you want chili sauce with that? It's like that in the first one. There's that bit where he has to go and rescue the people who've been caught, put hostage, and he just gets on a bus. Yeah, just gets on a bus to save them. So that was really funny as well. Just pop myself on a bus, wait for the bus.
He operates in reality.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to say about the action in this one. In the second one, he did quite a lot of equalizing. I forgot how much. Like, he's in his little lift, Uber. It's a lift, I believe. I can't imagine the bidding war for whether it got to be an Uber or a Lyft in that movie. Whoever sold that to Lyft.
Our drivers are absolute psychopaths. That's what that is. Sick.
That's true. But he gets a lovely whole, just like, oh, this is great. He's got a new way of finding out about people who need equalization. He does a whole bunch of equalizing. This one, it opens with, don't worry, you're in safe hands. There's going to be equalizing. But then, as we say, there's just that massive bit of him recuperating in Italy, which I think works great. And then once the equalization starts, And I read an interesting review of it yesterday that sort of said that the movie sort of ends after the second act. And I didn't know how to put that into words, but in the cinema, when it got to the finale, I was like, okay, great, here we go. What's going to happen? That's it. That's the end.
100%.
It's like the equalization sort of starts too late in the movie. And then when it does, it's such a short burst. After he does the twisty arm bit, he does a good bit of equalization. And then it's a sort of, I will do minor spoilers just a bit. So like, earmuffs if you don't want, but
if you're cold and you don't want spoilers.
Yeah. He kills the guy's brother, and then the main guy just turns up to the town and is like, who killed my brother? And then Denzel just sort of comes out and goes, it was me. Just take me away. Like, again, is he old? Has he just had enough? And he's like, this is how I'm going out. And then that's the sort of bit where he's saved by not himself, right? Like, which I guess is the whole, he's part of the community saves him. But then he's just sort of, then it's just like straight to the finale. And in the previous two movies, that has been like the major set piece of the movie. In the first one, it's like Home Alone, R-rated in B&Q. And it goes on for a long time, and he does all these elaborate, he just hangs a guy with barbed wire.
Yeah, barbed wire, yeah.
Sticks things at people's necks. It is like the slasher movie side of it. And I remember the second one's finale not being quite as good. And I think that is true, but it is still quite a good finale. It's very ambitious. It's in this like hurricane swept small East Coast town, and he takes them all out one by one. And this one, it felt like he sort of like, it was like, I am become death, like he becomes this like shadowy, literal angel of death that just appears, murders everyone in, fairly interesting ways. But as I say that, I can't really remember any of them. And then the main bad guy just sort of gets taken out. And then it's like, well, I guess all done. See you later. And I was ready for like more after that. And then that was it.
Yeah, how it was paced, it felt like there was going to be one more big bad at the end of it or something. But I think that's the problem with all three of these movies a little bit, is because, I think we've touched on this, but because there's no actual stakes, whether he lives or dies, and you never feel that he might live or die. Like, you don't care about the outcome. And, the sequence in the B&Q is at least fun. Yeah, and like it's the best of the three, I think. And
also, to that point, there are other people in jeopardy. You just sort of reminded me, like in the B&Q, there's other people there. In the second one, there's the kid who they've kidnapped. Whereas in this one, he's just like, right, well, I'm just going to go to their house, kill everyone, bish bash bosh, back for a kebab.
But even those stakes are like felt. Even in 1 and 2, that at least there's some stakes, but even then they feel a little manufactured. Like, but by 3, there's nothing. There's no stakes at all.
Yeah,
there's not even, like you say, he just appears and just sort of trundles his way through a killing spree. But like, he at no point is he even. You don't get that sequence where the big, huge guy wrestles with him for like 5 minutes. There's nothing. Like, that's the thing with the second one as well. It's all like. It's him versus a sniper. Like, there's no like, you never feel distant. Under. Yeah.
Literally and figuratively. Especially. And this one, I think, even more so, because it was just him sort of creeping around a mansion like Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, and sort of 100%. Appearing behind someone, slashing them, or literally popping out from the shadows at one point.
I know this is like a small thing, but like the geography of how it's directed, you don't even know that big bad guy lives in the town. Like he lives in the town because he staggers out of the house. Spoilers.
Yeah.
But like he staggers out of the house and then he dies in the street in front of the people of the town.
Right.
But you don't even know he lives there. Like
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, well, that's the effective part of it, if you are going to do that. But they don't ever set up that he lives there and he's like this. I don't know. I just thought it was a bit lazy, to be honest. The second half of this one felt quite lazy, I thought.
It's interesting that, isn't it? And I think like Fuqua, is a solid, very adept director. And a lot of my complaints with movies like this, and especially, Denzel's getting a bit older, is like the editing or the doubling, and oddly things that I might complain about, I haven't in these movies. There's not like the John Wick long takes. There's not like, oh, it's obviously Denzel doing it. It is often sort of these like close-ups of the corkscrew going in someone's mouth in that first one. But there's sort of the direction is handled in such a way that I still quite enjoy that. It's sort of on the surface, like the nature of the action is maybe not to quote unquote my taste, but I think the way it is assembled in these movies makes me enjoy it. Like it's very visceral. And I think the kind of like watching his machinations of, I'll go over there, I'll put the corkscrew in his face, then I'll twist his arm off, and then he goes into the table and everyone's done. And I felt like there was a little bit of that in this, in the sort of opening barrage, like, very much so. It is exactly what we've expected and what we've seen in the other ones. But the sort of latter half, the first bit of Equalizing pretty good, but then in the finale, it is that more horror filmy. He's like the slasher who appears, duffs everyone up a little bit, and I can't really remember how he dispatches anyone at the end. Even the main bad guy, I can't remember.
I think like it's so funny, like commenting on someone like Antoine Fuqua, like, because you're like, well, he's clearly incredibly good at what he does. Like, he's
Absolutely.
literally incredibly good at it. So, and I couldn't do it.
But there'd be no podcast if that was the baseline.
Yeah. But, like, I always like watch movies now, like having made some short films and like written like stuff. It is so hard.
Yeah.
It is so hard. But he's definitely of that school. Like, he's a bit like Tony Scott. He's just like coverage. He's a coverage guy. Like, he obviously has like lots of money, so he can shoot from loads of angles. He just shoots it. I often find like there's not a lot of like interesting blocking or thinking about the purpose of shots, I would say. Like, there was one in this one where there's that sequence where you have the old man in the wheelchair, and in the background you have the bad guys extorting something like a building out of this couple, and then afterwards you see that man in the wheelchair being chucked out of a window.
Yes.
Like, that's a good piece of directing. It's not telling us anything.
Good foreshadowing.
Exactly. And you don't know why. But there's not a lot in general of that sort of like thinking about the purpose of shots or creating tension like that. It's just, like you say, close-up violence and pretty like long drone shots, and all effective, very slick. That's what you get when you have the best actor, one of the best actors in the world, probably the best team of editors. Like, he's like clearly knows what he's doing, Fuqua, but like it's not like, it does still feel a little like Journeyman sometimes.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying, and yet I think it's it's almost like a space in movies that exists less and less. Sort of, I mean, I don't think this is medium budget. I think that this first one was like 70 million, so they've probably crept up and up over the last two, right? But those, there used to be so many of them in the 90s of these like medium budget action thrillers. And I don't want to criticize too much, because I love these movies. I think they're great, and I wish there were more movies at this level, where, and I think they've tried to do it in different ways in recent years, where it's like you get the actor, you teach the actor the moves, with your Therons or Bob Odenkirk in Nobody. And I like that level of movie that's like, it's not so much money that the studio's gonna have notes on notes on notes. It's enough to for it all to be good, and not to sort of have to like cut corners or do whatever the DTV people have to do just to get the thing finished. And increasingly there's less of these movies, and I think Fuqua he's just right there. He nails those, and he's made 3 of these movies. Made the Magnificent Seven remake, which I sort of remember quite enjoying. I mean, he made Training Day. I mean,
Training Day is that's a
classic.
Stone Cold classic.
Yeah.
It is that's a great movie. But like, even the Magnificent Seven I watched recently, it's kind of like, it's just sort of but quite by the numbers. Like, you put a good cast in, you've got a good-ish story, you know how it ends. But like, again, it's just kind of like coverage, really. There's nothing like compare that to, let's say, The Grey, which I was talking about earlier. Like I just looked it up just now. The Grey has a budget of 25 million.
Wow.
Equalizer 70 million, right? Equalizer 3, 70 million. And so with a third of the budget, the director of The Grey is like got so many sequences, you know, using direction, not just star power and coverage, to make it like there's a plane crash that is done. You would never guess that they didn't have any money because he does it so effectively, just using like light and various devices. There's a sequence where they jump onto some trees and like go across a rope that is so nail-bitingly tense, it's almost unwatchable. And you compare that to like the Equalizer, where it's just like there's no flair in that way. There's no like actual directing, really, if I'm totally honest. Like, yes, there's people.
Shots fired.
Well, I think I agree with what I'm saying.
I think I agree with myself.
Don't put me in a room with Antoine because he's clearly very skilled. Like, I'm not knocking the slickness, but that slickness that you're talking about, sometimes it's just like, well, like, okay, really good example. At the end of Equalizer 3, you have that cross-cutting between a funeral, like a festival march, an Italian festival march with like a saint, as he kills the people in that house, which is a straight up rip-off from The Godfather, but not in any way as like, did you even notice that cross-cutting? I'm going to say you probably didn't, because it didn't have any meaning to it.
As you're saying it, I remembered it now.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, that means it had no purpose being there. Like, it had no meaning other than, oh, we need to cross-cut something. Do you see what I mean? There's no, like, sometimes I feel like there's no, like, real purpose behind the direction. It's just coverage and getting really good people to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, if you put the Equalizer with someone with a bit of, like, half the budget, give it with someone with even more imagination, I think you'd get a really fucking good movie.
Like a sort of really more of an auteur, like with a vision for it. Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe that's my taste. Maybe that's just my taste.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to know what it would look like in different hands, isn't it? Like if each movie had been directed by a different director.
Yeah.
Those are always quite interesting. But equally, those sometimes, you know, where they can go massively off the rails. And I think
so true.
Each of these movies had stayed steadfastly on the rails, albeit I would say that my order of rankings was probably the order that they came out in. I would think. Like I did enjoy 3, but for me it did feel a little bit lacking in the action department. Whether that is by design and them playing into that whole "I'm getting too old for this shit" kind of vibe, maybe so. I mean, I guess we'll find out if there's an Equalizer 4. They'll be like, oh, actually, we're going to come back out of retirement again.
Yeah, the Equalizer 3 was missing that scene in the Equalizer 1 where he fucks up those Russians in the room. That scene where if that scene comes on TV, you're watching that scene where he goes 100%. In and he like moves those skulls around the desk and then he's like weighing them up, gives them the choice. Like there's so much tension and like excitement in that scene, and the cathartic when he absolutely destroys them. But there wasn't that in this movie. It's just lacking a few little. If you're going to give us the taste, that secret sauce that we want, like we've been saying.
Yeah.
Like we just want to see him equalize a few baddies and do it in a Denzel way. Yeah, staying on the rails is what we want. And that's why it's a 3-star classic. It's very watchable. And but we couldn't remember any of them. I'm not going to remember the Equalizer 3.
I think for me, it was just, it needed one more set piece.
Yeah.
Probably in that middle section or ramping up the finale so that it felt like we'd earned it.
But they sort of gave that set piece almost to Dakota Fanning with that like car sequence. And you're like, just give it to Denzel.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I thought. He's good though, isn't he, Denzel?
He's so good. He's just really good at acting, isn't he? He just acts really the shit out of it. Talking of memorable moments, let's wrap it up with an action replay. Chris, first time on the pod. Are you familiar with the concept of the action replay moment? I hope so. You've done so much research already. I don't doubt you for a minute.
I call it the action replay park.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good.
Where I keep that.
I'll let you lead the charge on this one then, because I don't know if we're going to have the same one because your memory of it is 1 day old. Mine is over a week old. So I've got slim pickings.
Yeah, and as we've established, you've got how this series works. Yeah, I think there's the best sequence is the bit where which is the closest to the Russian sequence in the first one, is that sequence where he's in the restaurant and he pinches that guy's nerve, and then they go out and he absolutely equalizes them one with a van. Which was that
came out of nowhere, didn't it? I mean, it literally comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that was really satisfying. And then he absolutely fucks those guys up. I thought it was great. I think that was my
fair. Okay, good. No overlaps. No overlaps. I mean, in theory, there's really only 3 sort of portions of equalization, I would say, that we're picking from. But the bit that I sort of keep forgetting, because it's kind of doesn't. It does influence the plot, but it doesn't. It's the sort of opening bit of equalization where we're like, what is going on here? What happens? Anyway, there's a bit where it's the kind of the textbook equalization. You know, he's talking to a guy and he's like, this is, well, they've got him back to rights. There's a couple of guys in and the baddie's opposite him. And then he says the thing. He's like, this guy stood too close. He's already dead. And then, I don't know if it goes in his eye like it does in the first 2, where it's sort of things, it's almost that, I don't know, I want to say like fly eye view or like fish eye view where you kind of see it through his equalizing world.
Yeah, it's like RoboCop. Yeah.
Where he sort of he predicts what's going to happen, he plans it out and bips his little stopwatch.
They do it in flashback. They do it like they have the sequence and then later see him remember it in that way.
That's right. Yes, I thought that was the case, that they don't actually give you the goods up top, right? You got to wait for that. So anyway, there's one bit in that where he gets the gun off a guy and he sticks the barrel of the gun through the guy's eye to equalize him, and then he shoots the gun. He shoots the gun through the guy's head to shoot another guy. I mean, that's the sort of level of equalization that we want from these movies.
100%. That was great. I really like that sequence because it was from the other perspective. Like you watch the Mafia Don go through the house and it's going to be Denzel.
Yeah.
You're like, well, how's this going to work out? And then just seeing him, it was great. I thought that sequence, that's why the first half of this, I was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of petered out.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I enjoyed every second. I was not bored in this. There's 2 main I think a movie is bad for me if it's A, boring, or B, pretentious. And it was neither of those things.
I just remembered a guy gets his hand cut off in this film in quite a graphic and unpleasant and unexpected way.
My question there was like, that's like cutting your wrist though. Wouldn't he just bleed out instantly?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I've never cut off a man's hand.
Have you not?
So I don't know.
Oh, you must. Have you? You must.
Simply, you simply must, darling.
You simply must. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I wasn't bored. It was an enjoyable 2 hours in the cinema.
With the other middle-aged men.
With the 4
It is a dad movie, isn't it? It's such a dad movie. Like, but all 3 of these.
To call it a dad movie is to almost do it a disservice because it's sort of above a dad movie, Like there's a lot of Liam Neeson movies of late that post Taken are like, this is not good enough, really. Whereas this one is a cut above that, I would say.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Neeson, but the combo of Denzel acting great, Fuqua directing in a solid way. All these movies are put together solidly. There's no stuff really that makes me go, what? Why? What? Apart from the weird Holocaust survivor side mission, which just seems oddly unnecessary. The whole Dakota Fanning sort of side mission. We haven't even really talked about, like, did they just get Dakota Fanning so that people would go, from Man on Fire, reunited, all grows up?
I think so.
And then they sort of put a little bow on it on the end that when I watched it, I was like, oh, right. And then having rewatched the second one, I was like, okay, that makes more sense. The sort of reasoning behind his getting her.
But you don't need it. It's like in a Western, you just want the cowboy to shoot the
bad guys
with black
mosey
hats
out of town.
Yeah, that's it. You don't need any of it. Like,
no.
But I mean, it was fine, and Dakota Fanning's good, and
do you think he's going to steal keep living in the town? Or is he going to move on?
Because someone gave him a lemon. An old lady gave him a lemon.
That's true.
They're thinking about making a prequel. That's what they're thinking about doing with a younger actor, possibly Washington,
his son,
Jr., or Michael Jordan.
B. Jordan.
That's the next they think is going to.
That's what they do, isn't it? John Wick. He's sort of getting too old now, but prequel it up, mate.
Yeah.
Ka-ching. I mean, I, like I've said, I wouldn't be mad if there was one of these movies every couple of years because they're a joy to watch.
Oh, 100%.
You know, 2 years'
really
time, he's in probably Shanghai with 20 production company names before the movie. And then he's get that sweet Chinese box office. And I'll watch him. I'll watch him do it.
I'll watch him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's enjoyable. A fitting end, and it would be nice if this, I think, was the end of the Denzel Equalizer run. I wouldn't be mad at that. I think it does exactly what it says on the paint tin that falls down to pull a man up by barbed wire in a B&Q in Boston.
And that red paint is just his gore.
That's it. It is surprisingly gory, actually, for an action movie. It does lean into that, I think, especially in this one. Very bloody. All of them very
detailed, close-up detail of things.
Yeah. They go for it. All right, I think we've pretty much covered everything there is to say about all three equalizers. You got 2 bonus equalizers. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. I hope you will come back later in the season and chat about some other random movie, and I'll pick something really, really left field and obscure next time.
What a treat. Yeah, absolutely. Love to.
If people want to find you on the internet, and they often do these days, is there a place where they could do that?
I do have an Instagram handle, but I don't know what it is. I'm never on Instagram, so no, don't worry about it.
And that is basically all you need to know about Chris Gow's online presence, is that it does exist, but even he doesn't have the login, so probably wouldn't worry too much about it.
See me on Letterboxd. Find me on Letterboxd. That'd be fun. I don't know. Find me on Letterboxd.
Are you just Chris Gow? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I'll put the link in the show notes. People can find you.
That'd be fun. I'd love to chat to people about
That's nice, yeah. And you post everything quite religiously on there, right?
I only do it for me. I'm not doing it for any other purpose, just so I'm trying to remember. Like, when you watch a movie a day, it does
that is a lot.
A little bit.
Well, bad luck. You've said it out loud on the podcast that has literally listeners. So we're gonna see how many.
Plural.
How many?
Plural.
That's true. That is true. All right, that wraps up another episode of Dodge This Action Movies Unleashed. Chris, thanks for joining us. Listener, we will see you in a couple of weeks for the next time. Oh, we haven't got a new sign out for season 2. Chris, any ideas on the fly? Like to put people under pressure to come up with a good sign off?
What about pew pew, pew 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 pew?
Yep, taken under advisement. See you next time.